some of the articles you can see there in terms of what different groups are doing in terms of donor management systems and CRM, things like that. So, so I think there's a number of things there. And then Heller also contributes and puts together a great deal of information as to how other organizations are successful in some of these areas.
Okay, and I think this would be our last question here. We're getting close to the end. But based on your planning that you were just talking about, how long a time period should a nonprofit plan cover? Like, how far out into the future can it really go?
Well, I think it depends on kind of what you're planning for. I think if you're planning generally of, we want to have a better relationship with our donors and constituents, which ultimately will lead to, more revenue coming in from those donors and constituents, a more loyal base, more people who decide to opt for legacy giving, for example, for your organization. I think you can start with a fairly big vision. Your vision can be, what is the kind of relationship we want to have with our constituents, and you start with that big vision, and then I think then you plan in kind of a smaller increment again. So, I think a lot of people end up doing it annually. I think for when you're talking about things like channels, like social channels, things like that, you may want to plan more for, here's an annual goal, but let's look at this kind of quarterly. What are we going to accomplish in this quarter? So I think breaking it up again is what you would be looking at. But I think it's really great to start with kind of that big vision of, if we looked at like our ideal scenario as to how we interact and relate with our constituents, what does that really look like? And start with that as your vision, and then I think break down your planning into smaller increments from there.